allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks. I call meeting to order at 6:35, and we have lots of things. The first thing is not coming up with joint meeting with finance, but the first thing is that I don't have an agenda. I was in Boston.
Finance is upstairs.
Here it is. Okay. So, in the meantime, then, you want to just go through the signatures?
Bill warrants and stuff.
Yeah, bill warrants. You want to read the bill warrant W12-44?
So bill warrant W12-44 for $1,250,540.36. The motion to approve? I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. In favor?
Aye.
All right. Technically treasury. Okay, PCFs and PRFs and disability forms, personnel request form for the town accountant. So here we are. So what we have here is, I spoke with David Kielsen last Wednesday, after last Tuesday's meeting, obviously, to ask him what he thought about the hours required for the town accountant to effectively do his or her job, depending on who would be in that position. And also the general duties of that. So I put together a one-page, sort of a bullet job description, which basically says that the town accountant complies with it, would need to be familiar with and in compliance with UAS, Unified Accounting Standards, also GAAP, Generally Accepted Accounting Principles, have familiarity with SoftWrite, and also have familiarity with the Massachusetts general law that describes the town accountant. And then I put in some hours, 24 to 32 hours, and a salary range of 30 to 35,000. Didn't put in any experience, but I thought it'd be good if we could discuss this, and then the end point here would be to either go ahead and post this or to send this to the Personnel Policy Board for their review, because in looking again at the Mass General Law, that says Mass General Law prevails over conflict, but we don't have any conflicts at this point technically with the Personnel Policies and Procedures Board. How did I do?
Did well.
Thank you. So I'm open for discussion about what we might want to do with respect to the job description for the town accountant. Do we want to make any changes to that? Any additions, deletions, subtractions, or further clarifications?
Yes, if I may.
Sure.
I've been thinking about it.
I copied it.
I've been thinking about it quite a bit, and I wasn't really happy with both proposals. I thought something more in the middle would be a little bit more appropriate after thinking about it for quite some time. And this is what I had thought. I would like to make a motion to do this also. Okay, 32 hours work week, $20,000 to $35,000 per year, experience 5 to 10 years, and salary based on experience. And I thought that was a resolve between the high and the low, and kind of got it in the middle. Okay?
I would second that motion.
Okay, so the motion's been made and seconded to amend the draft description that we have right now to include salary range of 25 to 30, is what you said? What's the name?
20 to 30.
20 to 35.
20 to 35, excuse me. And experience was
5 to 10.
5 to 10 years.
And salary based on experience.
Right.
I'm familiar with these two.
So what we could do, say over here, then in that one line after the word benefits, we could put salary based on experience, just in that one line. Any discussion?
Yes, please. Familiar with these three items that you had? Is it, do you agree with that, what he had written? Doug, if you could just ask him if he's familiar with
Universal
for the first.
Massachusetts accounting system, those other requirements that I had. as well as a familiarity with Mass General Law.
Right, yes,
Soft right
yes,
accounting.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Any further discussion at this point?
No, sounds good.
Okay, moving towards a vote on that as modified. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, we did that. Now, if I might call the board's attention to what are we going to do with this job description?
I think we should send it to personnel policy just as a matter of, even whether or not it's required or not, but as a matter of course. They are, in fact, the controlling authority, shall we say, on matters of personnel, and if they agree with us, then all well and good. If they disagree, then maybe we should hear it out. That would be my motion.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded then to send this to Personnel Policy and Procedures Board for their review and their process, I should say. Any discussion?
A little bit.
Okay.
So are we required to do that?
That's a matter of opinion, and we have conflicting opinions from town council, from non-professional reading of the statute.
Reggie has a comment.
But part of the process for the personnel requisition form, it does go through the channels. It does, the department heads will sign off, it'll go to the personnel board, then to the finance, and then back to the select board.
Correct.
That's part of the personnel requisition form. So they're going to see it either way.
Right, but the question is,
That's,
who has the final authority? The select board apparently is the hiring, so that there's a couple of positions in town that really aren't a part of the personnel procedures.
Yes and
Well,
no. That's the issue.
That's the issue that was outlined in this memo from Koppelman and Page in 2006.
So, for example, the way I read this, if personnel came back and said, well, we've scored this and it's only worth 18,000, and we could say, no, we think it's worth 22, and we would prevail over a conflicting
I see.
provision
This was that memo that we got the other day.
that I sent out.
Okay.
Yeah. So we haven't really come to blows yet with anybody?
Right. So it goes through those channels.
Yeah. They have to approve it anyway, there's checks and balances, of course. So, Reggie's right in that sense.
But if they don't approve it at our salary, look,
Then we have a conflicting provision that we talk about when we go to attorneys with it.
okay. All right, with that.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion that's been made and seconded to send this description, job description as amended to Personnel Policies and Procedures Board? Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Sir?
I don't know how to,
I will.
all right,
I have an embarrassing situation. I didn't know that Blanchard and Daly Electric, whom I'm no longer a part of, had a bill there. I don't know how this would work.
I'll just wait out your
I am-
name. I'll wait out your name and I'll correct the motion.
Okay, I have nothing to do with Blanchard and Daly Electric,
well,
period.
then you don't have a problem. I didn't, in the past, you've abstained from those votes, and
Yes, I have.
and I just happened to see that one.
So can we then, for the record, say that Selectman Blanchard has recognized that there is a bill with which he has nothing to do,
Yes.
Yeah, good.
and thereby de facto recuses himself?
No,
Learn something in
I
6
just
years.
bring it to up, that I have a right to sign this, because I have
Yes.
nothing to do with that company whatsoever.
I'm sorry, I saw the name.
that's all right.
In the past, you've recused yourself, and
I'd rather bring it out, really.
Okay, no one-day licenses, no town owner agreements, housing need nothing, but we're moving along. Interim Town Administrator's Report.
On your report, you have in your packet the Fournier property, and Mrs. Ahart is here if you have any questions in regards to your signatures being needed.
oh, where, it's in the package? Oh,
In regards to, what was that last?
Your signatures are needed, and this is to sign the co-holders documents for the town. Co-holder agreement.
Co-holder.
Co-holder agreement.
co-holder.
The chair is supposed to sign the annual report. Co-holders agreement, okay, so line between Commonwealth and the Town of Southampton. Okay. 130,000.
If I might ask a question, how many acres are we talking about this? And which side of the road are we talking about?
I think it might be land on
Both sides?
both sides. But let me just double check here.
I see numbers but I don't see acreage. What are we getting?
Sorry about that.
Oh, here, that's that. These are looking for the acreage.
It says 100.
100 acres? And this is, we're just getting an agricultural preservation?
Well, a little history. Actually, the land went under an agricultural preservation restriction, which was originally held by Winding River. And then they turned it over to Franklin Land Trust. And that was in 2006. Was when that took place, when Winding River obtained the agricultural preservation restriction. Franklin Land Trust has been negotiating with the state now for the state to take over the agricultural preservation restriction.
Oh, so this is, so the 4 years are kind of out of the loop. This is between Franklin Trust and the state?
Yeah, but now at this point, the town will become a co-holder along with the state.
And this is just an agricultural restriction, it doesn't, this is not just conservation land or anything like that?
No,
This is, Mr. Fournier intends to keep farming, or
Somebody does.
somebody's going to keep farming?
Not really sure who is, but it will always be the agricultural land. Actually, it would have been, or the hope it would have been under Franklin Land Trust, but this makes it even more secure.
And I mean, this is a beautiful piece of property that you would not want to see go to development.
Well, it would be very easy to develop it, and
Even with this restriction?
No.
Oh, yeah.
without it.
But these are $1 million views. These would be houses with $1 million views and vistas.
And it's a nice, a lot of the land is sandy, and there would not be problems with perk tests and
No.
things like that.
They tried hauling gravel out of there or sand,
Yeah.
and that. Mr. Fournier did a lot of things to try and keep his farm going.
And I'm not sure what is going to happen. Yeah, but as I've said to a number of people, an agricultural preservation doesn't always save the farmer, but it saves the farmland.
And no cost to the town, obviously.
No, because we've already paid.
We've already paid.
Our share went to Winding River and then to Franklin Land Trust.
So that share got transferred into Franklin Land Trust, that share, our share?
I think we still held our share, but it was Franklin Land Trust that we were cooperating with, and now it'll be the state.
Is this because Winding River is gone, or they're leaving?
Winding River's had some financial problems, but I guess they are not completely disappeared from the picture.
I would move that we sign the agreements.
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded that we sign the agreement with respect to the property, the co-holders agreement, which technically, what does it do? It covenants and agrees to provide assistance toward acquisition and administration of the restriction, satisfactory to the Agricultural Lands Preservation Committee. So we agree, so what we do here is to agree that we maintain, looks like, or provide assistance toward acquisition. But we've already done that.
Yeah.
So, sort of. So this is formalizing what we've already done.
Yeah.
Okay. Easy. Any further discussion? Let's see, this looks like it's supposed to be notarized, though? So this is the one I took out of the signature folder? Or no, this is, do we want to get
The
Eileen?
originals, yeah, I can grab Eileen.
And we have the others too for notary. Good thing I didn't sign that.
I seem to remember something about this when I came in here.
Yep. It's been underway for some time, it meaning the whole situation.
Yeah.
I picked up a lot of hay on that property.
How many acres do you think it is about?
The whole farm's 140.
Whole farm's how many acres?
140, I think. Something like that.
I wonder what he did with the other 40.
That's what I vaguely remember, but that was back in the 60s, he told me that. So we used to go over there and... Doug, you want to take over while I work with Eileen on these things? I should have gone over to your place, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right.
She only charges more for
House calls?
house calls.
Office calls.
Okay, we'll go for now, we'll just skip down, because I want Jess to be here for some other things.
Okay, sure.
So we'll go, upcoming events and meetings. Okay, we'll just skip to that area. Select board meetings, future, are May the 8th, the 15th, and May the 29th at 6:30 PM at the meeting room on the main floor at the new town hall, 210 College Highway.
But just out of curiosity, isn't May 15th town meeting?
Yeah,
So it's
town
not,
meeting.
are we having a select board meeting that night too? No, town meeting.
The
I'll
15th,
make that correction.
Okay,
7 PM?
Yes.
yeah, okay. Annual town election is May the 7th at 12 PM to 8 PM at the town hall. In the action list, review and sign annual town meeting warrant.
Well, I'm going to ask you to put that off for a little while.
We'll put it off,
Yeah,
okay.
because we have to get the numbers down for the final numbers from Finance Committee.
Gotcha, okay.
So we're stuck.
Timber cutting plan,
None.
nothing at this time. Succession planning, nothing at this time. New town hall updates, custodial, senior center.
Ooh, yeah, I saw the memo come out from you that they left, town hall was open. How did we find that? Police department? Well, at least they're coming. No one, I imagine, fessed up to the fact that they left the building open.
On that note, we received one quote for the security, and I'm hesitant on telling you the dollar amounts, but it's under 5,000, I'll just say that. And that quote, and I'm not sure if I had said this to you before, but was for the motion detector in all offices, the panic button in the town clerk, treasurer collector, and the assessors. And then I asked if he could give us a quote for the keypad, so that no more keys with the door. That would solve the problem with that.
Can I just ask you, did you find out what time the police department found it? How long the building was open before they found it? I would suggest between the select board that we propose sending out a memo to all the various key holders, which are more than we ever intended to be, that unless the building, if we have any more incidents of the building being left unlocked, that everybody's going to have to surrender their keys, and we'll go back to the old, everybody goes over to town hall and signs, or to police department and signs out a key.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't keep going like this. It's only, we're waiting for a disaster to happen for somebody to get in here. I mean, security system's fine, but if they're not locking the door, we still got a problem. And even the security system isn't going to solve locking the door.
Well, you can program it where it locks at a certain time. You can do that.
Well, that would be something.
Is that a motion?
Well, I guess I'm asking whether, is it, you know, at this point in time, I don't know, it was when we were in the other town hall, we had a problem and we ended up taking everybody's keys away. And it wasn't a big deal because the police department was in the basement, but now they're going to have to traipse across this, if they can't lock it. Twice it was?
It's actually more than that.
Yeah, but I mean, twice this last time that you sent out the memo on. If they can't lock the building up, I guess they're going to have to take the keys away.
Or you do the keypad thing. We have that at our college, and there is an automatic lock on the door, so nobody can come in until they punch their code in. or swipe a card.
But what happens if the building is unlocked for like business and then people stay after and then they leave and don't lock the door?
They have to set a code.
Right, there's a way of programming it.
I hate to spend $5,000 because people can't turn their key.
Could I just mention something? Because we have a meeting at 5:30 on Wednesday. When I leave, the planning board is coming in. Now, usually what I do is I leave the key back and Mr. Furman picks it up. There are other meetings going on, and not all of these people have keys. They have to use the keys from town hall.
Well, that's why I asked what time we found, if this was some, at 6:30 at night or something like that, when it isn't committees coming in to use the building. If it's the regular employees that are here and are not locking the door as they're going in.
One thing, but if it's people that are coming for a meeting,
Right.
and I know a couple times I've left, and there were other meetings going on, and people said, well, somebody's got a key.
So it's like nobody is actually ultimately responsible for the door.
Well, that was what the original intent of going over to town, to the police department to get the key. Whoever signed out the key was responsible.
Right.
But if maybe we need to make multiple, because if Mrs. Ahart has a key and they have a meeting, and what she's saying, there's other boards, then she signs her key back in, the folks that are still here have to go over there, get the key, lock the door, go back over.
But my only question was, my motion only works if it's employees that are leaving the door unlocked.
Right.
If it's committees, then it doesn't mean anything. So that's why I'm asking, maybe if you can find out what time they found the doors unlocked. And we'd have a better, what time and what days. And see if we can track down whose committee is here at that time.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Tim is
But
laughing.
you wouldn't
over
want to
there.
write it.
Oh, I thought you had a score on it.
I think they should have the name.
So that was it.
Well, I was thinking, for each committee, is there a chair or is there, okay, so that chairperson should be responsible. So that name should be written down. There should be a responsible party for every single committee that comes in to make sure that the...
Well, and you would think that it was a fairly simple process that even when planning board met in this building and no one else was here, we used to have to go over, get the key, come unlock the door, bring the key, lock the door, and bring the key back over, sign it in, sign it out, so you always knew who had that key in your possession.
Right, which makes sense, but...
I mean, I guess the question is it in committees or is it...
Well, I could always, in the future, be either one. So,
Well, and what's the keypad going to do with the committee? How are they, what's...
They're going to have codes.
you're going to have a code, everybody has a
You'll
code.
know who is in the building, you'll know.
It's probably a good, for security, it's probably a good expense, it's a good expense to incur,
Yeah.
if you're really interested in security.
One concern we should probably consider, let's say a committee was meeting in here and somebody was in the building, and they were just in it while it was open, and then they stayed to do whatever, ill will or whatever, and the committee's in here, and that person is now in here. That's a concern. They could hide down cellar, they could be in a restroom.
The perfect example is what you have to, for a public hearing or a public meeting, the door has to be open. We're sitting here, there's nothing to say someone can't come in that door and go
Anywhere.
anywhere, even while we do whatever while we're sitting here conducting a meeting.
Yeah.
But if you had a code, right, you would come in with a code, the door locks
You
behind
can't lock the
you.
door for a public, if we're having a public meeting, you can't lock the door.
Right.
The door has to be open.
Like at 11 o'clock at night, or...
Sometimes mine are alone at night till 8 o'clock for registrations. When that door opens, I don't know which way that person goes and who's in here.
I mean, I think the first step would be to put a bell or a buzzer on that door so that it rings through the building that someone at least has opened the door.
I have a mirror that I want to put up so I can see maybe out in the hall. I had it in the other office. And because it's kind of scary alone at night, and you hear the door open, and you don't know which way that person went and who it is.
No. It's just that with the awkward situation, having had the building open for a public meeting, how do you know, the best thing would be if we could close and lock that other set of doors so they could only come this way to this meeting.
Yeah, right.
But then if they're using the upstairs meeting room, then you gotta, you know, when the school was designed, it was designed so we could cut off sections of the building, but,
Because there's times here I have to stay to 8 or 9 for registration sessions. And when you're by yourself, it's not good. The last time the chief had one of the officers just park a cruiser here. They didn't know if he was in here or not. He wasn't, but they just parked it here until I left.
now they know he wasn't.
Well, I know he wasn't. You know, that was nice of them to do that.
Yeah, and I think if Reggie could find out what time and who was in the building, or who was supposed to be in the building. That's my,
Eileen, do you think a code system, a keypad system would work? People having
I think
codes?
so, better than the key.
Better than the key. It's not going to be perfect. No system's going to be perfect.
Key is very hard to lock.
Yeah.
And when you're home, when you're here alone, going out at 9 o'clock and that key's not locking that door,
That's delaying you and kind of
that's right.
easy target.
So one night I had a call over to the dispatcher, and I says, could you have an officer come? Well, he's on call. I said, I'll wait in the car. I'm not going to leave the building unlocked. I'll wait for him in the car. So I waited probably another half hour,
Oh.
but at least I knew the building was secure.
I mean, it's difficult to lock physically?
It's very difficult to lock.
There's problems with the door closer.
still?
Oh, it's terrible. Sometimes you can go and it locks right away, and other times.
I hate to say it, that's the way it was when the building, before the building was renovated. We had the same problem with when we were here before the building was renovated.
So I think the keypad would be really good, because everybody can remember a number.
Yep. Codes. Yep. I think it's worth exploring. Should we?
I mean, the budget's fixed for this year, so it isn't gonna happen this year. Something to try and build into the budget for next year.
See how much money we have left in the town hall building expense?
Well, if we stop paying the contractor. Maybe the contractor will pay for it.
Hey, the House and Ways Committee approved more state aid, more local aid. We're not going to get that much, but I hear it could be, for us, it's,
Yeah, so they've got to reconcile the governor's budget, the Senate's budget, and the House budget. It'll come out somewhere. I think you're going to find the House budget is the high number, the president, the governor's budget's the low budget, and they'll come to the meeting somewhere in between.
but it could be about a few $1,000s for us, more.
I think you'll be surprised when you see how little it is, because most of it will go to the cities.
How much do you think it'll be?
Oh, I have no idea, but I think most of the money will go to the cities.
Actually, I've heard it could be, never mind. It's no, hearsay's not good, is it?
Well, you hear what? For town?
I'm not, you know. For us, it's a good little hunk. It's not much in most people's budget, but for us, it helps.
Second page, we don't have. Mr. Chair, Doug, can you get back into the signature? Okay, I'm just gonna walk down, she's gonna witness you signing it and then printing your name here, and she will,
Oh, sign
her
it.
input driver's license is the evidence of identification.
So sign up here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Print your name
It's not
down
even that.
below.
It's under 5,000.
No way you'd have to think about it.
Pass it down.
Keypads aren't that. People are worse thing.
Hello, Bob.
Good evening.
The more complicated the system is, the more time you spend.
The end of an odyssey.
Everything's better than those keys, if the keys don't even function very well.
Yeah, the cake is for Bob, too. Okay. Whoops.
This is
Sign here, print your name there.
someplace to sign here.
This is the Fournier property.
Don't worry, I won't bite you.
Not hard anyway, right?
Birthday on? The cake. Do we sing happy birthday yet, or old anxiety, or whatever we're gonna say?
No, third.
So long, see you. Bye.
He was a jolly good fellow.
No, there's enough people here.
7 to 9, 7 to 8, I could come in.
Just do the minutes while you're here. Both old enough that if you're saying happy trails, you know about that.
Yeah, boy, isn't it great? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so, well, you would be in an official capacity
These youngsters may not know it, but you know.
as the select board liaison. And the next meeting is.
Those are gray in the beard.
So the new board will have to.
Figure out who's going to do that.
Or gray in the hair.
Okay, thank you, Doug.
I think we're done.
We have to wait for updated budgets with the corrections on them?
Say it again.
Are there any updated budgets with the corrections on them?
I haven't done anything.
Okay, so there's no copies around?
Oh, there's copies.
Oh, all right, Doug's going to go into the master.
Is this what we're talking, is this what we're working with tonight? Like, is here?
I don't know. Better ask.
If you want to. First he said, I was.
John,
Yes, ma'am.
when are we going to meet?
2 weeks at the town meeting.
That is a meeting.
Oh, yeah, it gotta be official.
Okay, we got those in there.
But this doesn't. Oh, it does?
Does that look?
Thank you.
Okay,
7 to 8, you want to come at 8?
Let me out of the picture, I'm eating.
we can split it up.
Let's see if they want.
Okay, moving down the line. Finance is here.
Like that.
It's happy trails to Bob also.
Oh,
It is, and to you. Congratulations.
But until we meet again.
yeah. Should we sing?
Keep smiling until.
But all we can say about Bob is he's tried this before.
I've left before.
He's like Trigger, he keeps coming back. Of course, they stuffed Trigger last time he came back. They stuffed Trigger last time he came back.
I visited Stuffed Trigger in Victorville, just outside of Death Valley.
Must be a destination.
Well, it's not really, but since I noticed it on the map and we're within 20 miles, I had to see Roy Rogers Museum.
Okay, so I'm suspecting that finance is here to get some more final numbers on what we want to do.
Yeah, there's only a couple of changes.
Correct. We have those two.
The first question is, what does the board want to do in regards to the police officer?
I had some discussions with, and best he can determine is that it will save at least $8,000 of the salary will come from various overtime items. Backfill on overtime, so, I wrote the number down somewhere, on the cost of $42,000 for salary, not the benefits and not the other items. Of the $42,000, we can reasonably expect to save $8,000 in overtime salary.
So it's 34,000 we need to put in?
And some.
And something for benefits.
Well, no, but it was,
42,615?
do you have the number, Reggie?
I just remembered.
Was it 165? 42, 165 originally? So now it would be 34, 165?
I thought it was
Why don't we be safe and call it 42,000 and subtract 8?
Okay, forget the 165?
Yeah. 'Cause we all know this is an approximation under the best of
I'm not gonna worry about
circumstances.
it. That's all right, don't bother.
You're not going to be here anyway.
As long as these guys know.
That would be my suggestion, is take 42 and, or,
34?
Yeah,
And add it to the
Add it-
recommendation?
so
And
I,
then 10 more for the health?
health insurance.
10 more for-
10 or 13.
well, it's 13 if they come in and take the best plan. So,
We did 10 for the highway position and custodian, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I said 10, but I realize it could be a little more.
and that's what I would, you might get a single person. If someone comes in with a family, then it's going to cost us 13. But if we get a single person, at this point in time, I budget 10. And there was a small reduction, at least in my business, there was a small reduction. I think it was 1% reduction in health insurance premiums this year. Or 0.5%, I don't know, wasn't enough to do anything with, but, so maybe they'll come in a little lower. So I'll move that we add to the budget what did we say, $34,000?
Right.
For the line item for salary and $10,000 to the benefit package.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to add to the line item, 34,000 in salary, 10,000 in anticipated benefits for the police officer, the full-time police officer to be. Any further
Just a
discussion?
question, does that include his allowance for his or her allowance for uniforms or anything like that?
No, would that be a expense?
So that's something,
Well, expenses is already funded at 63,000, which is
Also-
like 15 or 16.
so are we okay with the expense line then, if we're already funded higher?
No.
Well, it's just that we don't want to just see this come for a reserve fund a year from now.
If you recall, on the expense line, you folks had graciously added 16,000 to
Right.
that based upon the shortages that we've had in the past couple of years in that amount of area. And I had forwarded you an email today, John, I don't know if you got it or not.
No, I haven't,
that, my expenses are zero, I'm overdrawn, which was not unexpected. Back in February, we had
Yep.
this stuff at town meeting, we spoke about, you know, the shortages.
Yep.
And so, you know, that 16,000 was a shortage that existed really back in February. So it's reasonable to believe that if the shortage is potentially going to exist in February, even though you added that 16,000 to the budget, that will quite likely not be enough to make it to the end of June next year. So I would expect if expenses continue to even, you know, be the same, that we could potentially be looking at, you know, a shortage, you know, perhaps in May of next year.
So we should address that here now, but also, if you hire somebody that's brand new, a rookie, so to speak, we have to send them to the academy, right?
Right.
That's some extra money right there.
$2,500 expense for the academy, and then, you know, to equip somebody for the academy, uniforms, and ammunition, and medical exams, and all that sort of thing, comes up to about $2,000,
What was that last number?
about another $2,000.
And that $8,000 that we're just talking about savings for the overtime and fill-in, that's 6 months we're gonna not see because this person's gonna be at the academy, we gotta fill in, so we gotta have a number in here that's realistic.
Well, we won't be filling in that position while the person's in the academy, that position will go unfilled during that time period.
There'll be a,
Right.
okay, you won't bring somebody in to,
No, I won't, because we are putting a position in, although needed, we're not budgeted to fill it while that person's away, so.
I'm almost thinking that $8,000 savings is just, it's gonna cover all the added expenses. So, do we just put in
Put in the
the,
42.
well, 42 plus the, oh yeah, because we took it off, so if we put in 42, that should,
But that's wage.
right, but
Expenses
it'd be
where
the
you need it,
expenses
right?
line, it's the $8,000, I'm just, the number. Hate to give you too much money, but
Well, or just add some money to his expense line.
that's what we're talking about, yeah, that $8,000 we're gonna save, if we just add it to his expense line,
Or I hate to do it to the chief, but maybe not the full 8, hope that we can get away, you know, maybe 4 or 6 or something and see where we are.
that's why I was just trying to find out. The academy is one of these things, I mean, hopefully, from what you said, you wanna hire somebody experienced full-time, and
Is there a chance we could get an officer that doesn't have to go to the academy?
There is, we talked about this the last time, and I would not want to make that
No.
a priority or put someone ahead of the pack for that.
No.
Because quite often you get someone else a broken toy.
Right. But I mean, there's possibility that someone could walk in the door that's been to the academy.
Absolutely.
So do
but
we need it?
like a computer, you can wipe it clean and start all over.
That's for robots only.
So do we add money to his expense budget to cover?
Well, I mean, let's not put the academy in there, if you need somebody from the academy, then we got a reserve fund that we can...
Transfer that for reserve?
Yeah. No offense, but you know, once it gets in there, we never see it again. It gets used up.
Probably not.
Honesty.
Well, that's good,
So-
especially in a police
Since
officer.
our money is added to, do we need to change your motion then?
No, I think then the motion stays the same for the wage line, but the question becomes, do we add something to his expense line?
I would suggest that you at least add, you know, the initial uniform allowance, which is $950. So, because we'll need to equip the person with, you know, uniforms and, you know...
So why not $2,000 with the ammunition and that sort of thing? I would suggest we add $2,000.
We have to buy firearms, right? They're all
I
standard?
have the firearm, but we will not have the firearm.
Oh, okay.
Thank you,
So
Eileen.
$2,000 sound reasonable? If there's the academy issue, we talk about it then. How's that?
Say again?
If there's an academy
Yes,
issue?
sir, we'll talk about it again.
What do you guys think?
Is that, do we need to do it by motion?
I'd like to do the first motion first, sorry.
John, there's also a $325 or so psychological exam that should be included.
But we just said it was like $800 or $900, we gave you $2,000, so I thought we were including that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, is that what you?
Yeah, my intent is to cover the, and you guys will deal with, if it's a reserve, or an academy officer, you'll deal with it out of reserve when the time comes.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first motion has to do with the wage line, and it is to input 34,000. Right?
Yes.
The motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion on the wage entry, wage and salary? Those in favor?
This is new police officer.
The second motion has been made to grant $2,000 to the expense line for the police for various expenses as may come up, including uniform, including other expenses, $325 for psychological exam, or such expenses as you deem necessary. So the motion's been made and seconded to put $2,000 into the expense line. Any further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
You got it, you're awash in cash.
Yeah, right.
Well, and we should,
Hope I don't drown.
Well said.
and we should tell us, this hopefully covers our unmanned shifts now, or our single shifts.
Correct.
I mean, I think this fiscal year, we really want to start holding the department heads to the budget. I mean, now that we've given you 18,000 extra, I mean, same thing, hopefully, will work out.
This budget is not going to generate future free cash.
No.
I mean, this is lean.
Right.
So every time we add something, you have to start asking yourself, could we end up with a deficit instead of a positive free cash next year? Because I think we're cutting this as close as we can, trying to be realistic, but also saying to the department heads, at the end of the year, you're balanced, period. You know, and if it's looking bleak early, then you make adjustments during the year to get it back on track, not look forward to end-of-year free cash, because it may not be there. You know, you simply have to monitor every month with the monthly report that it's on target, and if it's off target, you got to figure it out within your budget. I mean, this one is not going to support a whole bunch of stuff at the end of the year. It just won't.
And that's why these reports every month are critical. So we can
Absolutely.
catch it before
Right.
it falls off the cliff.
It's a very, very important message is coming from both your committee and this board, absolutely. These folks will have to stay within the budget because of the way this budget was structured. There's
Well,
no...
back a year or two ago, when we were talking about the Long Meadow policies, one of the policies was to look at the accountants' monthly reports and start looking at some of the ones that look like they're going over and try to nip it in the bud and say, within your department, you have to get it back on track. That may mean some sacrifice here or there, but you're going to have to figure it out and not have February come and somebody says, I've only got 2% of my budget left and I've still got 5 months to go.
Right.
That can't happen in the future, not next year anyway.
No, okay. Very clear message, for sure. And we have two department heads here right now, too. Any questions about that? Okay.
We want to go over the warrants, remember?
We have one more thing, actually, is how much to set aside in stabilization?
Well, we talked about 100,000. We talked half of, basically, a little minimum of 100,000. That's what we penciled in the warrants anyways.
We penciled that in as well, we just wanted to make sure that's what we wanted to do. Do you have any further?
And can I ask kind of a direct question?
Sure.
We have a cruiser in there for a warrant article, which is up here, and we have this $100,000 for stabilization fund transfers down here. Are we going to get any challenges to transfer it to stabilization? Because if we do, it's going to make the vote on the cruiser a different vote, I think, in my mind. We're going to ask to reverse it, because that's going to clear out most of the stabilization fund with the cruiser. And if we're not able to fund it later on in the process, we're stuck. So, does anybody have any things that they're going to be bringing up, asking for that stabilization fund money rather than putting it into stabilization? I guess I'm just directing it to the two department heads.
I'm not aware of anything.
Okay, that's a surprise that could bite us, you know?
Well, then why don't we do it in the right order, put the,
Well, that's what one of our suggestions are.
reverse the articles?
Yeah.
I mean, even, just in case.
I'd rather hear it now. If there's any questions, we could discuss it if there was, you know.
Joe, would this be a good time to act on the recommendations the Finance Committee has made for numerous years, long as members of the Select Board, about making a line item instead of doing the stabilization?
For cruisers?
Yes. A week or two ago, you suggested that I make sure that I put it in as a line item for next year.
Yeah.
Why not start now?
Boy, because we don't have enough money in the budget right now to do that.
Because we need to take it out of stabilization this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have money available.
We're right on the edge there now with the police officer and everything. I think our surplus was like 57, and all of a sudden, we're pretty much eating that right up. So we'd be in the hole, if you will, so. But next year, it'd be a good place to put it.
Okay, so procedurally, Reggie wanted just, when she got the final numbers, was to take that page and go make the changes over there on her word processor and print it out, and then we would bring it back in here, we would all sign it.
What dollar amounts, so you guys,
100,000.
you agreed 100,000
Well,
for,
you guys have...
We did, I don't know what you guys.
100,000 in each of them?
Maybe 200 of the 380 roughly.
So leaving 180 in free cash to, and how much are we, how much,
Not leaving it there, but you know.
how much of the 180 are we putting into the budget, I forget?
Remember what it was last week, Rich?
how much of the 180 you put into the budget?
Yeah, nothing? So the 180 is still...
Oh, yeah, it is now,
It is
with
now.
the police officer added and the potential
The last
regional
was
school.
56.
Yeah, the regional was
Well, I didn't count the
92.
regional, that's 92, yeah.
That's 92 that we could owe the regional if
Correct.
the other 4 towns come
But-
online.
but
But with the
everything-
police officer, we still didn't
You're at
go into free cash?
2,441, right.
Okay.
You're still okay.
Are we right on the line, pretty much?
Well, we had 87 before the police officer, I believe, right?
Right.
I had 56.
Okay, well, maybe we changed it, but it wasn't a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
87
the
for
free-
the police.
Right,
That's right.
42.
Was your 50-something, Rich, after the
46.
police or before?
36, excuse me,
It was before.
What? Okay.
52. So we're down to 10,441 is what you have in the end?
I'll go back and double check.
Okay. But she wants to, so we would both sign this, finance and select board?
Just the select board.
It's our warrant.
Okay, that's true. Good. Okay, so that's where we are again.
So the 100 goes to each stabilization account.
Yeah.
And is there any money in this, in it now?
Stabilization
Yeah.
is about 60,000.
Of which we're going to take 33 to put into a cruiser, so now one of the accounts will have 130 something.
Right now, we have 64,971 in stabilization capital. We're taking 33 out of that. Actually, it says 33, but does it cost 33? Because you just bought 2 cruisers this year, right? Do you need about the 33, you think?
The 33 is inclusive for equipment and vehicle.
Okay. So the 64 minus 33 would leave you with 31,900. And then it would be 131,900 if that other article passes. And the all-purpose has 22,826, so that would go up to 122,826. And that's like free cash. You could go to a special town meeting and you could use that money. So it's like putting free cash into free cash, but it's a
Into a
little
savings
more
account.
safe, right?
It requires a vote.
Requires the vote.
That's the safety net.
Yeah, they both require votes, but it's nice, I think, to have it in the stabilization fund, because really, the goal of those stabilization funds is to try to get them both up to about 300 each.
Right, and I mean, in the state parlance, that's the rainy day fund.
Yep.
You know, it's to take,
Yeah, it really needs 300 to be a
it's
true
to take
rainy
the
day
highs
fund.
and lows out of the budget season.
Yep.
And the stabilization for the capital is just for capital, so.
Right.
And can I ask, what order again did I need to move around?
The $200,000 stabilization fund one has to go before the cruiser.
Okay.
Move it up ahead of the cruiser.
Okay, does that mean just moving the cruiser below those two?
You could do
Take
that.
the 200 for one stabilization, 100 for the other one,
And
and then
you
put the
do the
cruiser after that?
Okay.
That makes good sense.
So bring a lot of folks there to vote.
Okay, so anything else from you guys?
The only other thing is the article, and there's a lot of what amount to use notations in there, so I don't know if that's going to affect the budget, but
There's one correction, I'm sorry, John. There's one correction. After Article 17, it says Article number 3. I did not hear back from town council as far as the correct wording for the community preservation funds for funding the church. However, she did email me, so I have the change, I will make it, and
Wasn't that $5,500?
3,500.
3,500?
I copied it from another warrant because she had not replied back in time. She meaning town council.
Yeah, but, question 3, actually, Article 3 says, what amount to use says 8,000. So I didn't know if we had to discuss that, or if that's just something you need to plug in.
No, that 8,000 is a previous warrant. So that 8,000
Yeah.
doesn't, so that we don't, if we're not taking any money from free cash, we can strike Article 3.
Correct.
There is no, I guess there would be an Article 3, but this Article 3 goes.
Right, okay, so that's true. That's a good point. See what other questions we had.
So maybe you could just plug the group.
Well, I gotta put the Tuesday.
I can have it in 1 minute.
Another question we had, Articles 5 and 6. It's from the fire budget. Added them both up, it's 106,000, and there was 165,000 in revenue. So there's a disconnect there of 60,000, is that right?
We talked about that last time, yeah.
I'm not sure why that is.
Oh, yeah, I'm way overdressed. You talking about the revenue line?
Yeah.
And versus the expenditure? Did you talk about that at all?
I actually sent an email to Steve to come and attend the select board meeting to talk about the revenue and expense difference. The revenue is 165, that's what you reported, 165, and then the expense is 106, there's a difference.
It sounds like there's 60,000 more revenue somewhere.
I thought we included that in the general fund, isn't that what we did with
He did,
that?
because he didn't come to
We kind of put that in the general fund.
So, yeah, well, I did some research on the expenditures out of the ambulance budget, and according to the March expense report, which was what I had available to notice, I had 123, 185, 41, and based on the average revenue of 9,000 per month, for me, people May and June will be another additional 27,000. So the balance at the end of June should be about 150, 185, and our commitment to the budget is 106,271. So our starting balance for July of 2012 should be 43,914, which we'll have left in there. And we have commitments for that budget are to replace the ambulances, maintain the ambulances. We usually replace the ambulances on a 5-year period. So the average cost of the ambulance is up around $200,000 now to replace it. So we're getting very thin on the money in that account. With that 40,000 left in there, we still have to make that commitment every year for where we're at right now for the police department and for the other operations. So we still have that 106 coming out. So we can't really spend much more of that money, otherwise we are not going to be able to accomplish the mission of that budget. That was designed initially to replace that ambulance. If we keep taking more money out of there, we're not going to be able to replace that ambulance. So we defeat the purpose of that. We've gone a long ways with spending that money and putting it into the budget, which basically is going into the general fund, because all those expenses, if they weren't coming out of the ambulance fund, would have to be coming out of the general fund to operate that department.
That's not the answer to the question, though, right?
Because that revenue.
On the revenue sheet, it shows revenue from ambulance fund, 165,000, and then it says fire chief next to that as the person who provides the number. And it's, so in our revenue projections, we've got 165,000 in revenue for the town's budget coming from the ambulance fund. And that, I don't know where that came from.
I'm still lost where you got the 165,000 coming from where?
ambulance fees, last page of the handout.
Yeah, the fees you're,
Do you have the handout? Last page of the handout.
A year-to-date, we got 144 in the fees.
That's the dollar amount from Chief Hyde.
Pardon?
That's the dollar amount that you reported, 165.
That's the estimate for fiscal year 13, obviously, so.
This dollar amount does not equal.
Oh, this is an estimate. The 165 is something that was asked months ago. And I basically said it looked like we were about 165, but those were solid numbers. And now we're working with the solid numbers, and the solid numbers are what I just related to you as far as what we're a lot closer to the end of that fiscal year, and we have more numbers. I took the actual number from the March expense report and then averaged out what we're expecting again to get for the next 3 months. And again, that's not a solid number. That $27,000 could be less or it could be more. But we're a lot more solid with these numbers here than we were with that estimate when we did that. That was quite a while ago we gave those numbers.
If you look at the statements as of yesterday, the revenue report, the ambulance fees have like roughly $144,000 of revenue.
Pardon?
The ambulance fees have $144,000 of revenue as of yesterday's.
As of the 24th.
Yeah, for the
144?
144.
Okay, I was gone last week, so I,
Oh, no problem. But
that's
if
why I
you,
wasn't here, and I didn't get the new revenue report in yet, so I haven't looked at it. I was working off of the March report.
yeah, but that's for 10 months, so if you extrapolate it to 12 months, that
So
comes out to
if
175.
we're actually that much up there, then when I did this report,
We get it.
I was feeling a little bit unstable with what we're doing, because with $43,000 coming in after we make our expenditures, we're struggling to accomplish the means of that budget. That's supposed to replace 2 ambulances, the chief's vehicle, and operate those vehicles and everything, so we were basically starting to look like we're falling behind. So the numbers there are ahead, so that's a positive thing, so we're in better shape than we were when I first did this. So again, that doesn't give us extra revenue, it just puts us in a better position to maintain what we're supposed to do with that budget.
Right. But we have all this revenue in the budget, and if we take it out,
There goes the, now we're spending free cash.
yeah, big chunk.
We're spending $50,000.
Well, 60,000, because 106 versus...
About 60, 59.
Yeah, 59, 60,000. I mean, it looks like the ambulance fees protections are over what they were, which is great. So it sounds like there's enough in there.
Well, that, come out, John, you, at $9,000 a month, with 2 months left, you'd get 160.
Well, 144 is for 10 months, right?
Right, so
And the 144 divided by 10 is 14.4 a month. Double that, you almost got 30,000.
but he was estimating $9,000 a month was his
Right.
experience, so I added 18 onto that and got 162.
But the actual is 14.4 a month. So why don't we add the actual, which is almost 30,000 more?
But either way, this was an estimated number that we collectively used.
Right, but he's going to exceed that, is I guess the point of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right, this was estimated before the 144.
Yeah, I'm looking at the...
And that average came off of that number, you get the average of 9,000, so that's lower as well.
Yeah,
But I think you're talking about 2 different things.
Right. The disconnect here is the difference between 165 and 106. What are we going to do to...
Well, the
No, not anymore.
you're talking about how much the ambulance brings in per month, and it gets put into the ambulance fund, and it grows. But this number in the revenue report, or how we base our revenues, this is money that's going toward the omnibus budget from these sources. Taxation, from highway fees and things they collect. All these department heads are predicting in this report how much money from that source is going to fund the budget that we're building tonight.
That would be 106,271.
Well, that's what the problem tonight seems to be, because depending on which sheets you're looking at, one of the sheets that says from fiscal 12, 134,000 came from ambulance fees. Another one says that like 90,000 came. And so this sheet where you wrote the 165, this sheet is asking how much money from ambulance fees is going to fund the budget. That's what this question is. Not how much do you collect over a whole year that builds toward buying new ambulances and other stuff, right? So there's two different numbers.
The number is 106,271.
Well, that,
That's what the number is.
and that's, that's on the 11th hour here as we sit, all of a sudden a $60,000 problem.
And that budget that had no fat in it just got anemic.
Yeah, and the point of where you are now is just to say that you're producing more revenue than you thought you would, so hopefully that 164 or whatever is attainable.
It's not.
Well, depending on,
Well,
I mean, he'll collect it, but it's not going to go toward the budget.
Right.
It'll sit in the ambulance fund. It won't be spent to balance our
it
budget.
gets transferred
Right,
out.
Well, yeah, to what line item will it get transferred to?
Well,
We've only got 106,000 being transferred as of this warrant right
The
now.
106,000 is money that is committed to
Correct.
pay for EMS wages, for EMS expenses, and $10,000 for the
Police officer.
stipend for the police department. Those are the solid numbers that we have for our budget this coming year, and the total of that is 106,271.
Okay, then what I'm saying is when this sheet comes out next year, it's not asking you how much are you going to collect. It's asking you how much will go toward the budget.
There needs to be a little more clarification when you ask the question.
Well, okay.
So that we know what you're actually looking for.
well, the question then becomes, what are we going to do with this 59,000? We got a couple of ways we can go. One, you can cover it with free cash, which is not a good idea. And Steve, none of your salary comes out of that ambulance account, does it?
No.
And you do a lot of the EMS runs.
Right, and Reggie and I spoke about this, and that's why I went in and went through all these numbers to see if there was a way that I could contribute more money out
Well,
of it.
what about putting some of that $50,000 or $59,000 as part of your salary from the ambulance fund as one supervisor of EMS, two as an actual EMS worker, and three as fire chief?
Well, no, the problem is that we're going to defeat the purpose of that fund. I'm saying right now, that 59,000 is putting us, I feel a little more comfortable with that money staying there because we have to replace an ambulance. Actually, we're not going to get beyond task as far as the 5-year replacement because we're not going to have enough money. We need at least $200,000 to replace an
But
ambulance.
with this budget, we may not have a fire chief if we don't do something about this budget. So the ambulance may not be an issue at that point in time. Frankly, we're looking, say something if I'm wrong, but we're looking at a budget, we now have to find $60,000 on the last minute, and where are we going to get it?
Yep. You're not wrong.
So I'm suggesting
When does
that
the ambulance need to be replaced now?
Pardon?
When does the ambulance need to be replaced?
What year? Now, you're on a 5-year cycle, but
Right.
you have 2 ambulances, so you're buying one every 2.5 years, basically, is that what you're saying?
Well, right, we ended up, we bought, the last one, we actually went over, we were about 7 years, I think, on each one. The oldest one right now was purchased April 2008, and predicted replacement would be in 2013. The second ambulance, which we bought just after, well, actually 2 years after, we bought in March of 2011, so replacement would be looking at 2016.
Well, we just may have to stretch those out one more year on each one of them, like we did before.
Well, and then you also have the chief's vehicle, which is supposed to come out of there as well, which was purchased in 2007. It's got 75,000 miles on it now, so it's some...
I have a 2003 with 107,000.
I got a 2001 that's got 152,000.
Well, it's not coming down the road at 60 miles an hour responding to an emergency.
Well, 75,000 is pretty.
How many, what year is that?
2007.
So that vehicle is 5 years old?
5 years old, yeah.
70,000.
So you're averaging
So don't go 60.
20,000 miles a year on a...
75,000 on it, so that's 15,000 a year, less than 15, is that right?
Why can't we do this math?
Because we're
Because we're talking, we're used to talking in millions, and we're only talking in thousands now.
Well, it's sad.
15,000.
15,000 a year?
$15,000, 15,000 miles a year.
Well, I think this chief's vehicle is similar to a cruiser. It's not so much the mileage you put on it, you know. It's the traveling, but it doesn't seem bad.
Yeah, but this vehicle shouldn't be sitting idling like a cruiser would be
Oh, no,
idling.
I agree.
Well, it's not so much the idling, it's the wear and tear on the suspension, the steering system, the braking system.
I think we're going to have to stretch those vehicles out another year. I don't think there's a choice.
So if you stretch those, would that mean then that we would look to get some of that difference, the 56 or?
I don't know how you're going to tackle this budget without getting some or all of it from the ambulance fund.
Yeah, that may be the way to go.
And then deal with the ambulances when they become a problem, because we have two.
This number.
We're not, we have to have two ambulances, and where do we go from there? Maybe there's a restructuring that has to happen. Do we need two ambulances?
That's the other thing, up from a business perspective, are we a two-ambulance town? How do you make that determination?
Well, we made the bid to the taxpayers based on all of valid information 5 or 6 years ago. And the voters believe that we
Well,
did.
it's one thing to vote for something, it's another thing to pay for it.
Well, basically, the voters.
No, basically, they voted, they approved it, but they're not willing to pay
with
for
all
it.
the information that they had.
Exactly. The information did not include the fact they would have to pay for it.
Well, and I think in truth...
Right. Well, it was coming out of the ambulance fund, which was designed to replace the ambulance.
Designed to replace a ambulance, though. I mean, now we're getting into two, so it's kind of overstepping what it was originally set up for.
Well, and I think we may go back further than that, Steve, because I think I was around in the days when we kept an old ambulance at one point in time because we said we were going to do nursing home transports.
Right.
That was why we kept the second ambulance originally. It was an older ambulance, and we kept it. Now I think we've gone through 1 or 2 replacements on that ambulance, or the one that's the lead ambulance, and pushed one back.
Well, I don't know what that was. I've never seen it since I've been on the department.
So what year is it? What your truck is a 2007?
Yeah.
What are the 2 ambulances?
2008 and a 2011.
Well, one thing we got to do is start trying to pace out these vehicles so they're an even replacement time, instead of one being 1 year and rolling right into the second one.
We were doing that, but because of the financial issues.
Well, I know, but
to replace it.
your truck is a 2007. Let me ask you this, in the nature of the beast of responding to an emergency, why are you driving the truck to an emergency instead of, if you're driving the ambulance, why is the truck going too? I mean, it seems like if we're going to an emergency, we should be going in the ambulance or a fire truck. The pickup truck was like a vehicle for you to use as needed, but not as a responding vehicle, I don't think.
That's what it was. Because I was responding to all the emergency in my own personal vehicle.
Well, I think from home, I think that was if you took the vehicle home, so that if you responded to an emergency from home, you took the pickup truck.
Well, that's what I do.
But you're putting on 15,000 miles a year responding to emergencies from home?
Plus, not just emergencies. We travel around doing inspections. I have to go to meetings. There's a lot of traveling that goes on to the...
Well, I don't know. I think these boards are faced with a situation that we have to work out some replacement schedule for those ambulances, and I think we have to decide how we're going to handle. We got to make a decision on the 59,000. It's yes or no, or what do we do with it?
Right, if I might could steer us back to that more specifically, if we review the structure of the fire department here, that's for a different time.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of good, ideas put forth here too, so.
40 or something like that. That would at least take the...
Stay off it, yeah.
So the specific issue at hand is how are we going to acquire the roughly 59,000?
Well, we have it now, kind of. It's just we can hold on to it, right?
Well, can we hold on to it?
Yeah, I guess one of the thoughts were, you can address it, is we were talking about, should we take some of the salary, like Mike said, out of that, and cut into that, and put, instead of the 106, put 100 and X. I mean, there's no, and you can tell me, there's no legal reason not to do that, right? It's just what, it's a valid reason. You brought it up about taking some of the money from the ambulance fund to fund the part of the...
Well, it seems like a valid reason to take, you know, I mean, you're talking about the supervising EMS, you're talking about the fire chief, you're talking about an EMS worker.
What it's going to cause is an issue with you getting your vehicles in the same schedule, I guess, is what...
Right. But I mean, the alternatives are not good.
Right. So that's really what we're faced with, nasty alternatives.
And if we sell any of those vehicles, they got a good value on them, I would think.
Didn't you get 20,000 for the last one?
I put it out to bid, normally when you do a trade, they don't give you anything for it, but we were fortunate enough to have a buyer that came forward and gave us $40,000 for it.
Seems to be a lot of value to somebody that doesn't have, you know.
They're good vehicles, they got diesel engines in them, and they're trading in with 35,000 miles.
Well, that's the other thing that was brought up last time, Chief. Can we just get a gas one and save a lot of money? Can you just get a gas one? That was talked to last time.
Well, actually, right now, if you were to go out and buy a new ambulance today, you pretty much are forced to buy a gas because manufacturers, Ford doesn't have a diesel chassis for the ambulance, and Chevy isn't making them anymore, so you're getting more restricted what you can buy as an ambulance. A lot of the companies are buying the Mercedes ambulances and the more higher-end ambulances now just so they can get the diesel engines in them.
So does that bring the cost down with the gas engine?
Well, diesel's higher than gasoline.
Right, but I mean, if you bought a gas one now, would that be less than that 200? Or we're just trying to figure out a way to keep the schedule?
I haven't priced them. We aren't really in the market for an ambulance, so I haven't gone out and looked at replacing them. So.
Is there a trade-in value for the older one usually?
The trade-ins are they don't give you anything. That's why the last one, I asked the board not to trade it in, to go out and put it out to bid. And that ambulance, talking to the vendors when we were looking for the ambulance, we were going to get less than $10,000 on the trade-in, but because I put it out to bid, we got $20,000 from a private company. They're using it as a transport ambulance.
Okay, so back to the issue at hand then. You guys are proposing, or we all collectively are proposing, and assume we have some sense of consensus and agreement here, is to move that 59,000, or part of it, all of it? What do you guys?
It stays where it is, really.
Yeah, we just gotta fund it.
No, but I'm saying, if we, on our budget sheets, it shows 165 coming in from the fire department, we don't really have to do anything.
Right, yeah, I guess if we take the money, yeah, it's...
The only thing we may make a footnote is saying 59,000 of the 165 is going to fire chief, supervisor, whatever.
Right, I mean, the detrimental part is it takes it from your budget, so it pushes your plan out.
Well, you're going to take the whole thing out there, that empties the whole account.
Does it?
That's zero.
You can read those faster than I can.
Also gotta wonder if, I don't know if that's good or bad, the chief's vehicle comes out of stabilization somewhere down the road if we need to. You know, I like it coming out of ambulance, but you gotta build that up too. It's kinda like wait and see.
Well, right, that would leave you with zero, but we don't have any choice at this point other than to pick up that other money as, you know, as reported. I can see. That leaves you in a bind in terms of your replacement schedule.
I'm not even sure you can.
Well, and that's the board's decision.
Okay.
Okay. So basically, when they need to replace the ambulance and they have to go to general fund or stabilization, that's what you're going to have to do.
Reggie's looked it up, if I'm reading this right. As of April 24th, there was $124,795 in the ambulance account.
As of what day?
April 24th.
That's what I had.
2 months left.
23, 185.
So that's 12, that's about 12,000 a month. 10 months.
Yeah.
We have a different number with the same date.
Well, it depends what sheet you're looking at.
Revenue sheet.
Looking at fees.
This is a condition of accounts, if that means anything.
That's detail.
This is a detail.
This is,
$20,000 difference.
Look at the bottom of your report that you're looking at, Ann.
yeah,
Look at the bottom and see the date that it was printed.
the date's at the top here.
But
Look
at the
bottom.
bottom.
Said he's got 141.
5-1.
Oh, you don't have, what do you guys, the spreadsheet?
For that fund off.
Yes.
5-1.
5-1.
Talking about what you passed out tonight, Rich? This is what you passed out tonight, we're looking at, yeah.
No.
That's not what you think about?
I'm talking about the most updated revenue reports. Oh, as of May 1st, yes. You received that from Joyce. You should have received that.
Okay, so that's newer. So I had 144 as of April 24th.
So it's a little better, so that's the $14,000.
Date range up here.
So
What is it?
your number's more current. So that's $14,000, so that'd be, on an average, that'd be $28,000 more for the year, so that would be
Revenues into these accounts.
Oh, I got you.
which is where the chief got his 175.
Right.
So, we're looking at, by the end of this fiscal year, 175, of which we're taking 165, so that leaves $10,000.
But it'll get another 175. That's what we're really taking, not this.
Right.
Right? This will still be there, don't you think?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, there's...
That's right.
These are expenses that we'll be putting out there again next year.
Off next year's receipts and stuff, yeah.
And we're not sure what in the near future is just our cost of operation for the Department of Public Health is they have some new requirements that are coming down that are going to substantially increase our cost of operation every time that we go out. Now we make a decision whether or not we activate a paramedic intercept. These new standards that are going to come down are going to, there's a lot of, they've been fighting with this for about 6 or 8 months now, trying to get the requirements down, because the way the requirements stand now, we're going to have a whole lot of money going out for paramedic intercepts on these calls. And we're not sure what that number's going to be, but could be, I was guessing, in the $10,000, an additional $10,000 of operation costs. So we have to look at that, because that's the future.
We pay intercept now, though.
We do.
Occasionally we get it. I can't remember the last time we signed one, but we do pay some now.
Right.
We do pay for East Hampton for intercept.
We pay them all the time.
Right.
We pay, we have agreements with AMR, with East Hampton, with Northampton, and
So that's the detail.
they're the ones that provide our intercept. We've done that for years.
Would there be a cost savings if we didn't have to use that service?
Pardon?
What is the paramedic intercept for specifically?
It's
Because you're a
required-
paramedic.
We operate under the Office of Emergency Medicine for the state of Massachusetts, and they give us our requirements, how we operate. And if they tell us if somebody has difficulty breathing, we're not a basic service, but we're an intermediate service. If that's on the list that says that you need a paramedic intercept, that means that we need to call for a paramedic, which right now our cost is $275 per intercept. And we've been doing that regularly for years based on certain criteria, but they're in the process of expanding that criteria out quite a bit. So we're going to have more occasions where we're going to have to call for that $275 intercept.
Would it make more sense to have a paramedic here, and we're not paying it out?
You can't, right now, we're talking about how we're affording what we have. Paramedic service is not, that's a lot more money. Just in equipment alone and maintaining the equipment. You have monitors, you have medications. Monitors are a real headache for any of the services. They run out $20,000 to $30,000 a unit. Medications you're constantly buying because they expire, so you're always paying for throwing that away.
Gotcha.
Then trying to maintain. Now, we have increased the coverage, the protection of this town has increased greatly in the last couple of years. That's our money that we put in for the EMS wages. And I have more intermediate level staffing. At one time, there was only 2 intermediates, and there myself being one of them. Now I actually do have paramedics on staff. I have 3 paramedics working for me, but we're operating at the intermediate license. And these guys are only working on a part-time basis just because they work full-time, like for East Hampton, Westfield, and other services. And they have an opportunity to come here and make some extra money. But for us to get the ambulances up to that license, we have to have 24/7 staffing at the paramedic level. So even at the intermediate level, we're required when they come in and audit us, they will look at our calls and see what the calls are And if the majority of the calls should be operated at the intermediate level and they're not operating at the intermediate level, they'll pull our license. Well, it's a lot stricter with the paramedic, and it's going to get even more stricter with the paramedic because part of this new protocol that's coming down, as it is right now, when you do a paramedic intercept, the service might send a basic driver in a truck with a paramedic on it, so that other service has one paramedic. Well, if a chest pain call comes in, now instead of having one, they have to provide 2 paramedics, and they have to be paramedics, and they have to appreciate the cost. So it's going to start getting, a lot of service is going to cost a lot more. One particular service that runs a paramedic service right now, and they just get by. Talking with the chief in that service, that if this comes down as it's proposed right now, he is going to drop his paramedic license to go right to a basic ambulance service because he's not going to be able to afford to sustain the paramedic staff for that cost.
All right, if I might just intervene here too, we're getting into minutia for next year, and I would like to kind of keep us on track of what we're going to do specifically with respect to the 59,000. You're aware that is the board decision at this point, at least, for the fiscal year 13 budget, to assume that that additional 59,000 would be coming from the 165 odd as reported here. Okay?
Like you said, it's a board decision.
Yep. Okay, but we need to formalize that decision, I would think.
Well, we don't really have to take any action because we did it already.
Correct. We talked about a footnote, though, at least with respect to this. Would we mention this at town meeting?
What, the $59,000?
Again, I think the board needs to make a more solid presence on that, because town meeting, you're going to run into a lot of question on that. I mean, that's what the board desires, then officially the board was, going to have to defend that at the meeting, because there's going to be a lot of questions on it.
Possibly. So what I would suggest, it's up to you guys to make the motion that the board, as part of the discussion, would make that announcement.
What, the 59,000?
Yeah, it sounds like it would be an explanation.
Yeah. You said you want to...
What, do you want my motion?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll move that we adopt the budget as prepared, and $59,000 of fire ambulance money go towards the fire chief's salary.
Second. Any further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, good. Anything else with you guys?
2 other questions on...
Thank you, Chief, for the money. That's a tough one, I know.
Reggie's not here.
She whispered she was going to go make the changes, or start making the changes.
Well, one's a typo. The other one, Article 9, to be honest with you, we looked at it and we weren't sure exactly what it was saying. To rescind the portion of Article 16 as voted.
Article 9?
Article 9.
Page 4 of 8, top of the page.
4-6.
Pardon me?
My Article 9 is to transfer $33,000.
So I have the old ones.
You said rescind?
Yeah, I have the old ones we looked at.
Oh, you're looking at this one, maybe.
These the old ones, or these new ones?
Yeah, that's an old one.
That's an old one.
That's an old one.
Let me look at this. That was to rescind, so maybe that's not in the new ones. That Bridget has put up.
You need a new one? John, you got a new one?
Yeah, I do, thanks. Yeah, it's, okay, this is the same thing. Update 4/24/12, is that what you have in the front of yours?
No, mine is 5/15. Oh, wait a minute, no, wait a minute. That's the town.
Yeah, it's town meeting date, but
Yeah, I think that article disappeared on the new draft.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
don't
have
see
to find it.
rescind anywhere, nor rescission.
Yeah, this is the one I was talking about.
Yeah, because they dropped a few articles off.
We're down to a total number of articles of 20. How many do you have?
Yeah, we don't have that.
We had 24 on the first one.
Yeah, this-
Even
we're down to-
25.
We're down to 20.
Yeah, okay. That was one of the ones that you took off.
Hear that?
How efficient we are.
We couldn't read it.
Okay. Anything else from finance?
No.
All right, she's gone to
I
make
think we
the
need
changes.
to,
We have some other things we can do.
She's gonna make the changes.
just a thought, in the minutes, it'd be nice if we could put Chief Hyde's concerns in there about buying something down the
Yeah.
road, so just let's memorialize there.
Yep. No, we didn't ignore it. We didn't ignore it, we just have to make a hard decision.
Yeah, that'd be the key.
All right, thank you, finance. Anything else?
Yes, thank you, Jess and Doug. Appreciate
Happy
it.
trails. Happy trails, Bob.
And thank you, Bob.
I'm going to Shanghai the meeting right now.
Yours?
I'm Shanghaiing the meeting right now.
We have a Shanghai.
Because while Reggie may be done, I got elected somehow to make these presentations. So we have plaques coming, but in light of the plaques not being here on time, Mr. Blanchard, after all your years of service, I'm sitting at your right elbow for many years.
Mr. Blanchard.
I learned a lot of vocabulary from Jess.
And although we don't have certificates, we should also stand.
And as I said, he tried to leave a number of times, and he's never quite made it out the door.
I already have a plaque. Got that the first time.
Yeah.
And to the folks at home, we'd like to thank you, obviously, all for being ongoing citizens and support, and you will have some very competent select board members coming in after the election, of course, and let's stay active.
All right. Sorry for jumping in there, but I
That's
wanted
fine,
to
that's fine.
get that done.
Last part. Okay, we have some things to say. We have the MPDES, small MS4 Jenny, and Ed Hawley's here to explain it.
That's the,
It is close.
DEP stormwater management, where all our roads are in the affected area of town, where there's a high density, we have to apply every year for that permit. And we have to do a lot of training, highway department, and there's a training program in the back with color pictures. And this outlines all the things the town has to do to stay in compliance with this permit. So it's been filled out, and after you sign it, I will go to my office and email it to the EPA. Because it's got to be there tonight.
Move to sign.
Second. In favor?
Aye.
Deal.
Got to be there tonight.
Yeah, it's been like,
Nothing like big.
just came in during the day today and yesterday.
I was in Boston today. I didn't even know about the 6 o'clock thing.
No, that's all right, it had nothing to do. We had several steps we had to do.
I was working.
Where you have to take it?
That's my office.
Oh, that's not bad.
Email it in,
Oh, okay.
you know, and I'll do that. But we do have to do all this training in lieu of the highway department.
Yeah.
Okay, other than that, thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Ed. Okay, next item then we have here, a letter dated as of today to Celia Rico, Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, and this is to formalize that on April 10th, 2012, we authorized and signed the above grant application for the Town of Southampton, which is the Open Space and Recreation Plans grant that we signed. So this is something that needs to be done.
Move to sign.
Second. In favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we're going to go this way.
Yeah, I read that.
How about you, Phil?
See you around.
Pick me up.
Yeah, about that. We don't want to see you in that capacity. Town hall use policy, she doesn't want to talk about this.
Whoa, whoa.
Cross it out and put in Jackie. That's an old form. Town hall use policy, we can omit that.
Anything else, Jess?
I'm checking, I don't think so. Discussion items. Budget, we have to sign the warrant.
L-I-N.
Announce the annual town election is May 7th, 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the town hall.
Oh my gosh, L-I.
It's like there's a robot.
So why don't we have a quick recess?
Motion to recess.
Second.
In favor, aye?
Aye.
Thanks, Tim. And sign the town meeting
Review it
warrant.
again? We have to review it again?
Well,
I mean, how many times have we reviewed it?
if you want to make a motion to sign as is, then,
Well, I mean, unless you're thinking there's something that needs to be reviewed. It's
okay.
kind of like the 19th version of it, isn't it?
Okay.
I'll move to sign.
A second.
Motion's been made and seconded to sign the town warrant, town meeting warrant, as in front of us. Those
Your
in
last
favor?
official act, I'll move that you sign
All
first.
right, okay, those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay.
Jackie says aye. Jackie, aye.
Yeah, I heard her say aye. Are we being recorded? Jackie, say aye.
You're the chairman of the board.
No, I'm not doing that, no.
Where's the signature?
You should say aye. You said hi.
Oh, hi,
Our signature page?
Not the last page, right before the
No, I told you.
Yeah, that's what
they
I
were
was
going
born
around
at night, but not last night.
section.
Got it.
Last name and.
Oh, yeah, so yours, aye.
Okay, my last signature.
so
Funny, I was looking at him and back and forth.
I thought you said hi.
Okay, now we need a constable here to do this?
No, that's just gotta be, gotta get posted by a constable.
I can laugh at myself.
Oh, no.
I did them while you.
You guys won't be at the annual town meeting.
Nope.
Oh, no safety, no protection.
That's right.
Aw.
Who's going to talk us out of any mess we get ourselves into?
You're going to learn,
Get ourselves out of our own messes.
That's right.
and Jacqueline needs to sign this. She can spell that name, too.
Yeah, that's right.
Jacqueline.
I've been doing it for a long time.
I gotta be careful.
Not giving it a year, I'll just, a long time.
We were voting on the warrant.
I know, and I go, hi. I thought he said, just
I know you
say
did.
hi. I swear to God. My ears are black. I need some sleep.
Okay, well, all we need is 2 more signatures and we're done.
All right.
And she's going to go to the master plan committee 7 to 8, I'll go 8 to 9.
Oh, that's good, because you don't want me there with this cold.
That was good, Reggie. You made him the chair of this? It's good.
On 31st? Well, whoever.
Yeah, I've lost my promotion.
I'm gonna try to get preservation committee.
Okay, so there you go. All we need is to dissolve.
I will make a motion to congratulate the two of you on your years of service one more time.
Thank you, guys.
We're gonna miss you awful lot.
That just because you're out of here tonight doesn't mean you're out of here forever. And we will be placing your names in nomination at the next annual caucus for some office or thing. And congratulations. I don't know what they're going to do with your Tuesday nights.
We'll try to make it.
Love class.
I second that.
Okay, the meeting is dissolved. Thanks to everybody.